Yeah, Sarah Jane here at Natural Heating, and this evening I got a little bit of door servicing to do. So I'm just stripping it down to get it re-roped, and thought I'd just show you a few bits. So I've only just ranked the old rope off, which is in the bin, and I'll get it back out. So as you can see, this has been quite badly frayed, so it wouldn't be making an airtight seal anymore between the stove body. It was just getting pretty shabby looking. Now, in the actual door frame itself, this has been a silicone-based adhesive that's in here that's really good. But it's a devil to get back out when you're clearing it out. It doesn't just pull out, it doesn't just rub out, it's a bit of a pain. So what I found is the best way is a chisel. Now, this is a rounded chisel. It's actually an antique chisel. I rather like antique shops. And these were cheap. It's cheaper buying old ones than it is new ones. And they're a lot better quality. This is made in the UK. It's even got the man that owned its name stamped in the chisels. And I think things like that should be used. It's like the toys out of Toy Story, never been used. Anyway, the reason I like this little half-round chisel is it fits right in the door seals. And then in the seams. You can't get a knife in there. I can literally go round these seams, and it's hard to do and hold the phone with one hand. Need the pressure. But basically, I just go down the two. The whole door is going to move because I can't hold it. There you go, you see? So you just go down underneath it, and where you can't get a knife in there easy with a work knife, because of the rounded edge on this, it's great for stripping out the old silicone. So I need two hands to do this. We'll come back to it in just a minute or two. So I think I've got that set up okay. So I've got my chisel, which I'm just going to take down the grooves in here. Now we can hold the door and just scrape that old stuff out. And that little rounded edge is really good for giving a wiggle underneath it and getting that out. Now I've tried many different ways with this, including a blowtorch to try and burn it out. And quite honestly, the rounded chisel is my favourite for doing this, for removing that silicone. It makes an far easier job of it to get all that nasty old stuff out of that seams. And then once I've done that, I go round it with a wire brush, just a little light wire brush. And it doesn't take too long, but you really need it all out of there. Right, now that's done, I've got a little wire brush. You could probably use a toothbrush because this is about the size of a toothbrush. And I just quite literally go down these channels and give it a good brush with that little wire brush by hand to clean all that stuff out. Now, see how nicely this is coming up? Nothing gets damaged and that channel's nice and clean. You can start to see the metal through underneath, which is what I'm looking for. So all the old nasty stuff is out. And quite honestly, old silicone is a devil to get out. Hate it. Horrible stuff for getting out. Now, I just want to scrape all that out of there. Get all the debris off. And quite literally, you can see how nicely that's all going to come back with just a buff over with that brush. So I'm just going to get this cleaned down before we re-rope it. So quite honestly, this time of year is the right time of year for getting your servicing done. Get your chimney swept, get your doors serviced, get your lining panels changed. Because if you wait right to the last minute and it starts getting cold and you want to light your fire, your chimney sweep's going to be busy and you'll be starting fretting, looking for spare parts, some of which may not exist anymore. So now's the time to get your finger out and get the little jobs done. And honestly, they're really no big deal in most cases. And if you find out they are a big deal, at least you've got time to get it sorted. So now that I've got this door wiped out, all the old silicone out, I'm ready to put my new rope in. And there's different types of ropes. You can't just assume that you're going to buy any old rope for any old stove. And even if you know the size, you need to check if it's hard rope or soft rope. Now, you can get soft ropes that are quite hard. And you can get hard ropes that are soft. And then you get black ropes and you get white ropes, and usually there's no difference, but you can get ones that are braided, and they could be metal braided, or they could just be a different outer sheathing. Some stoves have got really specialised ropes, and other ones are pretty straightforward. But if you come in to me and go, I want 10mm rope, yeah? Do you want a hard one or a soft one? Oh, just whatever. It makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference, because, let me just show you. And this is a firm rope, we would call it, that came out, a hard rope. This one was a 14mm. This is out of a Charlton Generic stove, from what we took out of it from last time to change. And it's actually really squashy. It's soft, but it's what we class as a firm rope. And the reason why is this bit in the middle, there's a core down the middle of it. I'll get a new bit and you'll see. But right through the end, there's a core, and then there's an outer sheathing. What we call a soft rope doesn't have a core. It's really, really squashy. So if you've got a cast iron stove that's had like a little beaded protrusion, a cast iron bodied stove that is, and round the body of the stove there's this little protrusion right round the outside, that is usually, not always, a soft rope. Because when you shut the door, that protrusion sinks into the rope. Whereas when you've got a steel-bodied stove, even if it's got a cast iron door, more often than not, but not always, it'll be a harder rope. And hard can still be soft. So, if I show you this one, can you see? It's got a fluffy stuff down the middle. I think I need to. You want to stand for now, just so I can show you. So, this one is a 12mm. And can you see there's a core in it? So if I pull the outer sheathing back, it's got this fluffy stuff on the inside, and then it's got a woven cover on the outside. And it's fairly firm. It's not hard, it's still wibbly wobbly, but it's stronger. It feels kind of maybe like a skipping rope, if you've ever done any skipping. A long time since I've done any skipping right now. Now, this is this, standing on an ash pan. Right. This one is a soft rope, and if I pick out the end to show you, there's nothing in there. Nothing in there at all. There's no inner sheathing. It's just like a knitted, like socks. So here's your difference in the two. This one is a hard rope that's not hard, but it has got a core. This one is a soft rope that has no core. And when you hold them both together, they actually look different sizes. Now these are both 12mm, and that one looks smaller than that one. But this one will squash really quite flat to a lot less than 12mm, to maybe about 5mm thick when you squash it. And this one doesn't really squash at all and remains the size and shape it is. And for all intents and purposes, it looks about 10mm and not 12mm. Now, here's a 14. And that's what I'm about to put in this door here. Now, that's a 14 that's got quite a fine braiding on the outside. And compared to the other rope, it's twice the amount of money. It's the same thickness and it's still soft. So it's still soft, but it has got an internal sheathing. So you can see it's a sheath inside a sheath, but it's not the hard one that's inside. It's like a softer one inside inside an extra layer. But this very fine braiding on this rope doesn't tend to fray out very much. fact, it doesn't hardly tend to fray out at all. Whereas this type frays out a lot. Let me get a bit of that. If I've got any. Right, okay, so we've got some of that. So there's these two, and they're both 14mm ropes. And they've both got a core part in the middle, but this one's very fluffy, and that's the one that's done this. And this one has got a much finer braiding on it. And this one's a lot more money than that one, but it probably lasts twice as long as that one. We don't always get that choice about what rope we sell you. It's more important is the density. If you change it twice as often, it costs twice as much. So if you change it half as often, but it costs twice as much, it's quite literally the same thing anyway. It's just a wee bit more hassle. But for the Charlton gym stoves as an example, I like this stuff. Not this stuff. People buy both. Sometimes it matters, and it really matters. Whoops, just see if I can get some more rope. Anyway, the next thing I want to show you is end seal tape. So end seal tape is heat proof, and we put it round the end of the ropes so they don't end all up fraying out and coming undone like this. So I'm just going to get some of that. End seal tape is heat proof and it won't melt or do anything with heat and fire, but it's expensive. So rather than selling you a roll because it's rotten expensive, what we do is we take it and we work out and we put about 12 inches on a piece of straw, plastic straw, cut into a little piece, and then you cut enough off to go on the end. So what I'm going to do on there is you get enough to do about 4 or 5 ends at least in 12 inches. So just stick that on like that, and then cut this off. There's plenty more. There's enough to do this whole door in there quite easy on that little roll. And cut that bit off, and then this fluffy bit at the end after the heatproof tape. Now I'm going to cut that off. So now it can't fray out. So now I'm going to measure around the door and leave a little bit extra because it almost like contracts back in itself, and then cut the other end of your rope. Right, so now I've got my stove rope adhesive, and it comes in a tube like toothpaste, this stuff. And it's quite easy to put on. You just literally squeeze it out like toothpaste, and you want to put plenty in it. When you've finished with it, what I do when I've finished with it is fill the cap up with extra silicone. So you've squeezed all the air out and fill that lid up with silicone. So what happens is it doesn't dry out and go off in the tube. Instead, what's gone off is on the outside of the cap. So all I need to do is take this, which is dry because the air's got to this bit inside the cap, and just peel that off. And what's inside there, see there's my little plug that it's made inside here. If I hadn't done that, it'd have gone off in the nozzle and the whole tube's wrecked. So now I'll be able to squeeze that out and go around the outside of the door. And you want to put a fair bit on, not heaps, but you need enough. And this stuff takes at least overnight to go off. So if you give it 24 hours, you've done well. Anything past 12 is generally okay, but it needs at least 12 hours to cure, because if you light that stove too quick, this isn't going to go off and you'll be doing it all again. We don't want that. So, can we see? So I'm just going to squeeze that into a nice, whoops. I'll get a bit of tissue and get that off in a second. A bead into here. Put a bit much in that bit, but we'll get that off in a minute. I'm trying to hold the door and the silicone and watch what I'm doing with the phone. That's not necessarily the best way to do it. That's more like it. You need enough to tack into that groove. If you've had any loose residue, just take a bit of paper towel before you've done it and squeeze it in and wipe it off so that there's no dry residue. I'll just squeeze the rest of this in here. Oh. And this tube's done probably 2 or 3 doors. It's not just the one. So I'm just getting kind of close to the bottom now, but I've got plenty to do this door and the bit down the middle. Because this one's got a piece that goes across there. Not all stoves have that, but this one needs a different rope round there. It takes a 10mm for that bit and a 14 round the outside. I'm just going to get a piece of kitchen wall. Right, so I've just got a piece of blue roll, and if you've made any little errors or anything, you can just wipe any excess off that's in the wrong place. And that bit there I could do with squeezing it out a wee bit, which is fine. That's it, my door's a bit covered. There's enough there that I've got enough silicone in it that I can give it a wiggle, getting the bits. There's 1 or 2 tiny little spots we've missed. Now when I do it, I like to put the seam with the join in the middle. So if I start here, there we go, yeah. Now some ropes go further into the door, but you need to check with the manufacturer about what rope goes in the door, because it's not obvious. You'd think that that rope from looking in that door would fit right in, and it just absolutely doesn't. This is the right size. So you can't often just guess. You need to know the rope, or phone the manufacturer and find out. If you bought it from me or it's a stove I've provided, I no doubt know what size it is. But you can't just walk into a shop, say I've got a fire and I need a rope. Because if you don't know what your stove is and you haven't taken a picture, you might as well be asking how long is a piece of string. Now you'll see that this is a tiny bit short. It's not, because I already measured this beforehand. So what I'm going to do, because I had already checked it, and I'm not stretching it, I'm just nursing that round there where it's meant to be. And I still need to put my second piece of end seal tape on there. So there you go, that's going to match up perfectly. So I'll just put that bit of rope on, I'll show you again in a second. Just giving it a squeeze in to make sure it's sitting in the right place and it's all stuck on my silicone. And then this could really do with sitting on my bench until it's all gone off tomorrow. So what I'm just going to do is just do this middle bit and then put the other piece of rope in, because it takes a 10mm shaft in this one between that seam. So we keep this stuff on our website. And you can buy it with glass clips, you can buy the end seal tape, you can buy all different sizes of ropes. And if you don't know what stove you've got, don't buy the rope until you do. And if you need to ask somebody or send a message, or even use Google Images, it might be able to identify the stove model for you, so you can buy the right adhesive and rope. Now, this is about dead. There's hardly anything left. I find there's another type of adhesive you get, not this stuff that comes in a tube. And it comes in like a little bottle, and it's white, and it separates. So you've got like a liquid in the top and the other stuff in the bottom. And you end up having to take like a teaspoon handle or a nail or something to get in the bottle and give it a mix up. I hate that stuff. I really don't like it, because it kind of almost ends up powdery, and then the rope keeps falling off. And when customers have been using that and they've come to me from elsewhere, I know they've been using that because they just keep coming back buying more rope. I'm like, that's not normal. It really isn't normal. But it's also imperative that you get the right size rope, because if you put one on too thin, it's going to keep sucking in air. And if you put one in too thick, it can be putting too much pressure on the door and you end up breaking the hinges. And you don't want to break the hinges on stove, because sometimes, especially if it's a cheapy Chinese one, you couldn't replace the door if you wanted to, because they actually drill the holes in both the door and in the body right through at the same time. So when you buy new ones, they don't line up and you can never fix them. So please don't force a door. A door isn't meant to be forced. If you're forcing it, typically it's because you've put the wrong size rope in. It may not be the wrong size, but it could be the wrong density. So you've maybe put in a hard one instead of a soft one, for example. And in the older units, especially the cast iron units, most of those were always in soft ropes without a core. So just watch out for that one. I'm going to put my 10mm one on this, and then when it's dried, we'll have a look in the morning at polishing. So there you go. There's all my rope nicely put in my door. I'm going to leave that to dry until tomorrow. I've not changed the glass seal because the glass seal is actually all right. I did this door for this gentleman last year, and I put in it what you want to put in it, but I've not given him a choice this year. I'm putting in the heavier duty rope because you shouldn't have needed to change that every year. You just shouldn't. Ray is particularly hard on his stoves. He does give them a hard time. It's his only source of heating, and he does burn all sorts, and it is what it is. It's a workhorse. Just gets on and chucks everything in and anything in it. And this stove's a good few years now, and it's done well. It really has. But if it gets used, it needs a wee bit of regular maintenance, and he can't do it. So yeah, anyway. Right, so this door from yesterday is now dried and all gone off this morning. So let me just show you. So here's my rope all around my door. And this one does take a different size across the middle. That's the correct size rope for these. And you'll see that these are nicely joined together because there's a little bit of fluff past there. Now, on a regular basis, when your stove makes contact with the door, the rope over time goes flat and you don't necessarily get such good a contact. So maybe once every few weeks, I mean this is properly bonded in, what you want to do is just pinch the rope the whole way around, and it's like puffing up a duvet. So when you've done that the whole way around, the rope just puffs up that bit and you get a better seal against the door because you get more pressure. So it's dead easy to do. We're not pulling it out. We're just giving it a squish the whole way around, and it just plumps it up. Now this is a new rope, so it doesn't really need done, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. And I might just pop through and show you that on a shop stove in a minute, one that's gone a bit flatter, because it does make a very visible difference. It's the same thing, we're not changing it. It's not going to do any damage, but it does give you a better contact. Now, while I've got this here, it's worth showing you something else. Now, this door could do with a bit of a freshen up. Now, there's two ways you could do that. We could take the glass out, or you leave the glass in and actually mask the whole thing off with paper and masking tape, and spray it with stove paint, and that'll bring it back to jet black. Then you bake that on. Or there's a really good polish. Now, I've been through loads of different stove polishes. Some of them are really hard work. Some are better than others, but of all the stove polishes I've tried, and there have been many, my favourite is the gallery polish. And the gallery polish comes in a tube. Now, they've recently changed the packaging because it used to look like this, and the box looked like that too. It's the exact same product in the exact same tube. Well, not the exact same tube because it's got a different pattern on it. I'm just trying to open one just now. So it comes like toothpaste in a tube. And when you've pierced the end of it with the bit on the end of the cap, you need to make sure you've got, can you hear it? It's a bit watery. It's not watery, it just kind of separates a tiny bit inside the tube. So give it a good shake before you use it, or you'll get dribbly stuff come out before you get the paste. As I say, I've used loads of them, and some of them are a huge amount of arm work, like your old Zebo polish, brush. Takes ages. This stuff takes seconds, and it brings it back really black. And one tube is enough to do a whole stove a good 2 or 3 times over at least. There's other stuff. They do another one. Even the same company do another one. And it comes in a tin. And it's not the same. It's not the same. It comes like shoe polish. Quite literally like shoe polish. And it's just different. It doesn't go on the same as the stuff that comes in the tube. This one. This is the one that I like. This one says stove polish. This one says great polish. I far preferred the great polish to the stove polish. And they're both going on black metal. Believe you me, this one is far superior. We keep it in the shop. It's not expensive. And what I also send them out with is a couple of these cloths. And I really like these because they don't fluff up. They don't fluff up at all. Some of the cloths you get leave a fluffy residue on the surface. Like those J-cloth things as well. I don't like them. They rub into holes. These don't. So they don't fluff up. They don't tear. They're really strong. It doesn't sink in too far. And it gives me a good even coating. These are my favourite ones. So I put a couple of these cloths with it. And you can use them multiple times. They're ever so good. Now this polish really stains your hands, so I'd suggest a pair of black gloves. Or a pair of plasticky, you know what I mean. Whatever you've got, washing up gloves, or the ones that you use for dyeing your hair, or work gloves, you know, the disposable type things if you've got them. If you haven't got that, and you're washing your hands to try and get off, Vanish, I've tried pink paste, that doesn't even get it off. The Vanish clothes cleaner, the powder that you put in the washing machine, some of that works really well. Or if your hands are really filthy, try a dishwasher tablet and it comes off ever so well, just rubbing your hands with a dishwasher tablet. So for you that are maybe even doing chimney sweeping, oh God, I mean, trying to get that stuff off your hands is awful. Next time I've got really bad hands, I'll show you what a dishwasher tablet does. Okay, so we're going to have a go at this. So there you go. Now, if that was me, personally, I would paint it. That is just the rope that's underneath the dial, and I didn't put this on. That was the way it's come from the manufacturer, and it seals plenty, so I'm not going to touch that. I'm just going to give this a good polish. Now, I've got my tube, and this is the same as the other stuff. And I'm going to give it a good shake so your screen's going all fuzzy. And then take the lid off. Now, you don't need too much of this. There we go. So, what you'll see is, see how black and how quick that brings this back? Now, that will go dark, that will go dull. As that soaks in and dries on, it'll go dull. But do you see the difference? It brings it back, literally looking like. So if you just want to give your stove a freshen up at the end of the year, or you're selling your old one, or yeah, it just needs an area done. It's easier just to do the whole thing, because you wouldn't just respray a top or a door, you'd do the whole stove, because you will see a difference and it does fade. This stuff does need baking on, and it does smell just like stove paint when you're baking it on, but it doesn't take too long. And honestly, for giving it a smarten up and bringing it back like new, it's well worth it. Quite literally, looks like I'm working a miracle. Seconds, absolute seconds. And everybody thinks I'm putting nail polish on to look all girly and pretty. I'm not. I put it on to hide the dirt. I literally have them done because my hands are always absolutely filthy from climbing about in stoves. But these cloths are good. You can just put your fingers or whatever in behind it and get into all the edges. And you won't want to see me doing a whole door, because that takes this off and then come back and see what it does to your hands. So if I end up covered with this, it'll give me a chance to show you maybe how I get it off, because it doesn't like that. I just decided to pull this ring off this door as well, and as you can see, that's pretty. I've already attacked this with the wire brush just slightly, but I just thought I'd show you. I'll tip some of that out. If I can do this. Right, so to find somewhere to put my phone, a piece of paper there. It's going to slide. The top of this is round, I've got on. Right, so if I just give that a good scrub in there with that little wire brush, you'll see I'll get rid of all the sooty stuff out the inside. And anything loose on the outside. You see? Now I'll get my brush out and brush that in a minute. But if we stick the polish on there as well, let's see. There we go. See the difference? So quick and easy. See, I've used all of them. I've used Dirt Buster, whatever it's called. I've used the Stovax one. I've used, oh God, there's so many of them. And most of them I just don't like, or don't like enough. This is my favourite. So, look at that. Back to as if it was brand new. So I'm just going to let that dry on. And once that's dried and changes colour a wee bit, I'll give it a second coat. Right, so here you go. All spick and span and looking nice for right, huh? Now this bit on the handle, I'm not going to do much with that at all, because that has got like a rubberised coating on the handle, and it's worn off in that place, and it's just down to the metal, and you can't polish it because there's still kind of rubberised stuff on top of it. I could give it a spray, but the spray's not going to stick to the rubberised type stuff anyway. But doesn't that door look smashing now? It doesn't look like a, I think it's about 6-7-year-old stove that doesn't get a lot of care and attention. No doubt I need to polish the rest of his stove, but he just lives across the road. And that's not a problem if it needs doing, because he's literally a couple of 100 metres away from the unit here where I work. So if I need to pop down and do it, I can't really exactly leave him with a nice, beautiful looking door kind of and a scruffy stove, because that would just look frightful. That wouldn't be good in my part, so I think I might need to go and see it. Anyway, there we go. That's what the polish does. That's how we do the rope on there. I could do with showing you how I rope a glass now, because most of the glasses, we don't rope them like we used to.